Yeah, no, I will say there. I think this brings up a couple things for me. First, to give a little nod to our prediction show. I think this was one of your predictions, so that came true pretty fast. So kudos to you. I will also say this: it's nice to it's nice to have this conversation with Breyer alive, right? Remember with RBG, it was her body wasn't, not to use it as, not to be cruel, but her body wasn't even cold before Mitch McConnell released a statement saying, "Hey, we're definitely filling the sea. I don't really care what you guys say." So it's nice to. I don't think RBG really got the conversation that she deserved, to be honest, because she was a legend and she was a trailblazer in her own right. But it was 2 weeks before the election. It was like the Trump and January 6th happened and all this stuff that we really never had that public conversation about RBG. So it's kind of nice to have Breyer be alive, get his flowers, and for him to honestly, and I don't mean to politicize it, but for him to do the right thing. For him to come out and say, "Hey, you guys can fill my seat now. I'm not going to step down until the session's over June, July, but I won't step down unless you fill my seat because I'm still going to be here." So I think he knows what his seat holds and the power that his seat holds, and I'm grateful to him for him to step aside. As far as the conversation about filling the seat and stuff like that, again, white men on the right will have you believe that because Biden is going to fill this with a black woman, that they are being biased again, that we are being racist towards them. As you like to say, they don't care about being called, or they don't care about being racist. They care about being called racist. The conversation I'm seeing is racist. If you just think someone's affirmative action, you just automatically think they're not qualified to do that. Amy Coney Barrett wasn't qualified to be on the Supreme Court, as far as I'm concerned. Brett Kavanaugh was not qualified to be on the Supreme Court, as far as I'm concerned. I could give you Neil Gorsuch. He seemed like, from all perspective, to be highly qualified. Those two guys, those two people you put up there, were not qualified. So as far as I'm concerned, they could kick rocks. John, let me ask you a question as you pivot to what you're going to say. What is the political benefit of Republicans doing this? And I say that to say, at this point, it's all indications that they can't stop this in any way. There's no legal, technical maneuver they could do. There's no loophole. There's no trick of Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell's sleeve that they could stop this. What do they gain out of just trying to stop this publicly, at least the message, or the, are they trying to just delegitimize it no matter who it is?
Well, that's one piece, but I think there's a lot of grounds to delegitimize the Republican appointees. But I think the bigger issue is that Democrats for years have never ever been Supreme Court voters. Republicans are. Does this potentially, as much as this is a win for Biden, does this give them a rallying point? If you don't elect a Republican Senate, they're going to keep, appointing. I think their upside is, since Republican voters have historically done a better job of voting on the Supreme Court, do they see it as a potential motivating factor? We talked about this before we started the show about. I do think that it's the right thing to do. I think that there's chattering class that will be very happy that there's a black woman. I still don't necessarily know, for the guy at 72nd and University that we're trying to get the vote, is he all of it going to say, I wasn't going to vote, but shit, now we got a black Supreme Court justice, I'm going to the polls. I think they're kind of overstating, and I think a lot of stuff that they're saying is going to depress the vote or excite the vote, whether it's voting rights or some of this other stuff. I don't think that that's going to really drive people. I think maybe Build Back Better does if it gets passed, especially with the child tax credit. But I I see Republican voters responding to the Supreme Court more than Democratic voters. Now, I do think Democratic insiders have, and the people who are more involved, like you and I, if we were a little demoralized, this might motivate us more. But I just don't know how that resonates with your typical kitchen table issues voter, especially in the black community. This is not a bad thing. We got to take it. We got to do it. But I'm saying do it more because it's the right thing to do and it's needed. I'm just not necessarily confident that it's going to have a ton of political upside for Democrats. And I do think that if you say why the Republicans doing what they're doing, I don't think I don't think it has upside for Republicans either. But I do think that their voters have done a better job through years of being Supreme Court voters.